What is up? What is up? Happy Friday, everyone. Hopefully, y'all got something to get into this weekend. I know a lot of holiday lights are up, ice skating, all that, even here in Cali. Um, but we are looking at like 70 plus for like the next 8 days. Hate to brag. But anyway, let's talk about a few things. Of course, we got the Dallas Detroit recap, and I want to talk about Kyler Murray, and last but not least, JD5 is back. All right, stay tuned, y'all. All right. What up, what up, what up? Oh, wrong one. Okay, so before I go any further, I just want to wish CD Lamb a speedy recovery. Um, I know that's an ugly part of the game. If you guys have watched the game last night, he went up for a pass in the end zone and fell down pretty hard on his head the way it hit the turf. And you never want to see those. The concussion looked pretty serious because he kind of froze up. So yeah, it is part of the game. A lot of guys got concussions this year. So I wish him a speedy recovery, and just hopefully he can come back before the year is out because they're kind of still fighting for a shot in the playoffs. But these concussions are serious, man. It's just the ugly part of the game. Now back to the Cowboys. What did I call yesterday? What did I call yesterday? Um, Let me just. So they had a nice little run. I think they won 3 straight games. They were doing good, and their offense was playing great. Their defense did its thing. But what do you expect? They always screw up right at the last minute when they're supposed to win a serious game that can get them to the next level. They choke. They choke. And surprise, surprise. I mentioned this a lot this year. Jerry Jones got rid of Micah Parsons because he said, "Why am I going to give $120 million to a pass rusher when we can't even stop the run?" In one of the most pivotal games of the season against Detroit, guess what? They didn't stop the run. What's his name? Gibbs had 3 rushing touchdowns, and Montgomery had 1 rushing touchdown. So 4 touchdowns on the ground. Dallas defense hasn't been able to stop the run for at least the last 3 years. And it came on full display now. And this is what happens when it starts to get serious and the playoffs matter and your season's on the line. You start to see what happens with certain teams. They get exposed. And I don't want to say exposed. Everyone knew Dallas' defense was suspect, but they had a couple good games, and we thought that they could at least keep it manageable. But that didn't work out. Detroit put up 44 points. And Dak Prescott, 300 yards. Let me see. 376 yards and a touchdown, but 2 interceptions. And then you had Goff, who threw for 300 yards and a touchdown, but he really didn't need much because their ground game completely destroyed Dallas. And now you got Detroit sitting at 8-5, still fighting for the rights of their division, even though they're like third. And then you have Dallas Cowboys. This could have been the time where they could take advantage of the Eagles' slippage. But now it looks like, as it's always been, the Eagles will be a runaway favorite for the NFC East. So yeah, 30-44, right? 25 first downs for Dallas, which was good. 326 passing yards. And these are team stats. I know that each quarterback had a little bit more compared to 299 for the Lions, 91 rushing yards, and 109 rushing yards for the Lions. Even though they only had 109 rushing yards, they got 4 touchdowns to the ground. So it is what it is. Detroit is they still can make the playoffs, but Dallas, it's looking grim. I think Next Gen said that Dallas only has a 7% chance to make the playoffs. So they really needed this game. And let's see what happens if they win out, but it's not looking good for the Cowboys. And, I'm not complaining as a Commanders fan. So, what do you think their next move will be? Do you think Dak Prescott is still in the MVP race? Me, I don't think so. His play leveled off a bit. He might get 10th place or something in the votes, but this was a perfect opportunity for Dallas to capitalize. But at the end of the day, if you got no defense, you got no defense. You can have a win streak, you can do good, but you're going to get exposed. And the Lions desperately needed this win because they are going through their issues. And they still got to get past the Packers and the Bears, which they lost to the Packers last week. So this was a pivotal game. Detroit did what they had to do, and Dallas will do what Dallas always does. So it's enough about that. Now, let's talk about Kyler Murray. Let me pull this picture up. Early in the year, a few games back, they put him on IR, right? So we only expected him, I think it's minimum 4 games. But it looks like now they shut him down for the rest of the year. So the conversation needs to be had. What do they do now with Kyler Murray? What do they do now? I'm not a coach or a GM, but if you ask me, the Cardinals have only won 3 games this year. I say, obviously they're not going to tank for the first overall pick, who probably will be a quarterback. But that goes to the Titans, but they don't even need a quarterback. Maybe they can make a trade. I don't know. They need to get another quarterback. They need to get another quarterback. Do I think they should get rid of Murray? No. But they should keep him now as a veteran QB to groom the future. He is not their future. Even though he's still a young QB, he is not their future. Since 2021, where they had that decent run, they made the wild card. They were 11-6. He has not thrown for 3,000 yards since 2021, with the exception of 2024, which means 3 other seasons, including this one, he was a subpar quarterback. I think one season where he got hurt, he barely even cracked 2,000 yards. He's never even, his whole career, eclipsed 4,000 yards. Is this what you want from a former Heisman number 1 overall pick? I mean, while he was at the helm in 22, they went 4-13. 23, they went 4-13. And in 24, where he had that 3K year, decent passer rating, they went 8-9. What are you supposed to do with that as a number 1 overall pick? You can't call him a bust, but what's the next worst thing to being a bust? They got to move on, keep him in there to groom the next guy, and or if he wants to throw a hissy fit about it, ship him away. But he is not that guy. He is not that guy. And let me pull up his stats here, because I know I talked about the win column since 2021, but let's pull up his numbers here. 2022, only 2,368 yards passing, 14 touchdowns. Subpar. 2023, I believe, where he was hurt most of the time. 1,700 yards, 10 touchdowns. 2024, okay, 3,800, 21 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. 25, missed the year again. He missed the year again in 25. 962 passing yards with only 6 touchdowns. So ever since their playoff run in 2021, they have yet to be 500. They have yet to be 500. And the closest they got to it was last year when they were 8-9. So you're not going to win with him. Get another quarterback, a young rookie, or maybe you can get a veteran in the trade, but this ain't the move for Kyler. He got to go. Or he needs to groom the next quarterback. He could take the Flacco role. I know it sucks. I know they paid a lot of money, but I feel like everybody has seen enough. And Arizona has been, despite a couple playoff runs here and there, they had Warner, they had Palmer. They have just been consistently bad for a while. So they really need their guy. And Kyler Murray is not their guy. He's not going to save the franchise. So enough about that. I don't want to bash him too much. Let's talk about Washington's franchise quarterback, JD5. You see him pointing. Yeah. JD5. Hold up. He is back. Oh. He is back. I know my sound effects need to come quicker, but whatever. Thanks to Wi-Fi. So, all jokes aside, I don't know how I feel about them putting him back. We're out of playoff contention. There's only 3 games left in the regular season. Are you putting him back because he's your first pick in last year's draft and you want to get your money's worth? Are you putting him back to maybe evaluate him more for next year? We already know what he could do. We've seen him play excellent last year and even this year before he kept getting hurt. I know a lot of people paid for tickets to see him play. I was in a DMV and I didn't even go to the Denver game because Season.Daniels wasn't playing. But now that he's back, I'm sure a lot of people will love to see him. But if you're thinking long term for the future and you're looking at his injury history this year, maybe as a coach, and again, I'm not a coach, it is a no-brainer to put him in there because he's your best quarterback. But what do you... And maybe for the love of the game, he needs to be in there because he just loves the game and he wants to play as much as he can. He doesn't want to just give up for the rest of the year. I get that. But I wonder if there was a discussion where they decide to shut him down for the rest of the year to protect his health. I mean, worst case scenario, he might get an injury that might carry on into next season, which, we don't want to jinx it. But aside from pure entertainment and the love of the game, we have no reason for him to go back in there. What, is he going to sharpen his tools? He's got 3 games and then he's got a whole off season. These 3 games aren't going to matter. So, I don't know. I'm torn between that. I'm very excited to see him play. Again, for pure entertainment, he is a special, special player. And when healthy, 100%, he's an MVP caliber quarterback. 100%. But going on into the offseason, what do we do? Should they bulk him up? Or should he tweak his style of play to where he isn't running so much or learns how to evade tackles better? Last year, I watched him a lot, right? He made a lot of running plays, but he was so smooth and slithery, he wasn't getting hit that much. He was sliding in time or just getting out of the way, running out of bounds in time. He was very, very tactical with it. For some reason this year, he's been having awkward falls and he's just been very injury prone. And maybe it's because defenders know how to get him now, or he's running too much, which he doesn't have to. We got a great receiving core. Or he's just injury prone and he got lucky last year. So that remains to be seen if he decides to bulk up or tweak his play. But 100%, I don't think last year was luck. I think he's a generational player. I think he's the real deal. You always worry about people starting off strong and then fizzling out. Like Caleb Williams, he started okay last year and he's just gradually improving to really good this year. And maybe he might be great next year. Whereas Season.Daniels was top tier last year, only to, and I know they're going to compare the stats. Oh, Williams and Daniels' stats aren't that far off last year. Well, guess what? Williams took him to the NFC title game. He beat everybody. Except the Eagles, obviously, who won the Super Bowl. So it'll be interesting to see what happens next year. But for me, as a football fan, I'm happy to see him play this week. I got Sunday ticket just to watch him play. So it's been a disappointing season. But there had to have been some discussions if it was worth putting him back in with only 3 games left and risking even more injury. There had to have been some discussions. So without further ado, I think that's all I got for today. Hope everybody has a great weekend. Obviously, my recap shows and my preview shows are a lot longer, but, as I still get in the rhythm, I'm going to have a lot more topics to talk about. So, see y'all probably on Sunday night, and y'all have a good weekend.